I think we can go ahead and get started. So today's speaker is Kelvin Bentley from the University of Texas System, where he leads the Texas Credentials for the Future initiative. I was just reading a little bit about it I'll make do a little cross promotion here with the Learn and Work Ecosystem Library. It's actually one of the better, more filled in articles on the library right now, which mentions that as of this year, there's over 15,000 students across 5 UT campuses that have access to Coursera and micro-credentials through Coursera. Is that right, Kel? I think that's, and 1,960 credentials that have been completed. So it's quite an amazing initiative out there to really drive micro-credential embedding into the higher ed curriculum. It's really an interesting program, and Kelvin will tell us a little about the research and the data collection going on, and we'll learn about what they're doing in terms of understanding the impact of these micro-credentials. And at some point, we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A and an opportunity to discuss any related initiatives that might be going on across the field and find some opportunities to synergize, collaborate. That's what the NCRN is all about, right? So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Kelvin. I think, Kelvin, you'll be advancing the slides on your end, right?
Right. Yeah. And thanks so much again, Kyle, for inviting me to just provide an overview of some of the work that we're doing. So let me get into my slides here. And actually, before I do that, I need to make sure I'm on the right starting slide. That would help. Let me do that. So again, thank you all for being here today. And I hope this information is helpful. I hope it also, if you're also interested in, doing similar work on your campuses, or if you're already doing it and you have some lessons learned, please let me know. I'm not a hardcore researcher by any means, but in my role within the University of Texas system, I'm definitely very interested in working with others to kind of just better understand our working hypothesis, excuse the pun, which is, can we, by integrating the use of industry credentials within traditional degrees, will that actually help our learners stand out more in the world of work? And so before I get into it, though, I'll just provide a short bio, just give you a little bit of my background, which hopefully will set some of the stage of what I'll talk about later. And then the focus really today will provide you an overview about Texas Credentials for the Future, our approach to collecting data. And think of this presentation as maybe part one of two, where, again, this kind of sets some, I'll use this to kind of provide an overview of some of the work we're doing and where we're headed with some of our data collection and research. And then, hopefully I can come back at a later point, if Kyle will allow it, and if you're interested, to dig a little bit deeper in terms of some of the data that we hope to summarize as we move forward. So with that being said, my name is Kelvin Bentley. I serve as a program manager within the Office of Academic Affairs within the UT system. I'm very interested in this work around the learn work ecosystem because, as you can imagine, many of us have gone to school for X, Y, and Z reasons, and we've come out the other side in various roles that were a bit different, perhaps, compared to what we thought we would be doing. And for me, I was very interested in being a clinical psychologist. But of course, after my pre-doctoral internship, I decided I wanted to go into teaching, and then that led me to do a lot of initial work actually supporting online learning programs for 2-year and 4-year institutions. And I was just really interested in this evolving space in terms of academic innovation, now focusing on this learn work ecosystem and how it's evolving or needs to evolve in order to help learners, for example, get access to jobs with a livable wage. And so this is just a little bit about me. I love sci-fi. This is a screenshot of a scene from the Chronicles of Riddick for those of you who are big Vin Diesel fans or like sci-fi movies like Pitch Black. This is the sequel to Pitch Black, and it just reminds us all, I think, that you know, even though we might have a plan in place for our careers, it's not always a linear path, right? Lots of different things can happen. And for many of our learners, they're challenged in many ways that we're not, right? In terms of, maybe not having the funds to earn all the degrees that they would need to be marketable in the world of work. So just wanted to just provide this slide to give you a little bit of an overview about myself and how I've really tried to, my path has been kind of all over the place, but I'm definitely very interested in academic innovation conversations. The Texas Credentials for the Future initiative started back in really with some initial conversations led by our chancellor, J.B. Milligan, back in 2020, just as the pandemic was starting. And he was very concerned about, again, lots of headlines around skill gaps, especially in our state. Texas, of course, is the second largest state, and we have a strong need for various types of high demand roles in cybersecurity, data analytics, like many other places. And also our chancellor really wanted us to start looking at available data to kind of confirm this. This is just some findings where we know that learners as well as employers are very interested in learners who actually have certificates in addition to degrees. And so this type of data, I think, really kind of shaped Credentials for the Future, Texas Credentials for the Future initially in terms of our approach. Like we really wanted, to help learners, especially our liberal arts majors, definitely stand out in the world of work. So how can we help English, psychology, philosophy majors, for example, obtain the skills that will really help them, in addition to their durable skills from their degrees, obtain jobs that align with their interests, but also help support them and their families. Some data from Burning Glass, of course, suggests that when you do this combo platter of a traditional degree, especially, including liberal arts degrees, you can actually open up doors for the ability to make more in an entry-level position. And so this is just data that I've shared in other presentations around this, but this also, of course, guided some of our work. Initially, we did focus more on our liberal art majors, even though now Texas Credentials for the Future has expanded to include no-cost access for all learners across our system. I know Kyle shared some data with you in terms of some of our learners. I'm going to provide some updates to that, but just know that currently our model actually has been extended to all 14 of our institutions. We have 9 academic universities, and then 5 health institutions, and 2 of them are going to merge. But we did want to provide this access to industry credentials on the Coursera platform to all learners moving forward. Some other data that, of course, did not come out around the time that we started Credentials for the Future is this. We also know through Strata, we are challenged with the fact that many recent graduates, a good number of them, do struggle with either underemployment or unemployment. And this report from Strata talks about underemployment. And so our hope is that over time, we'll be able to collect the right type of data to determine whether or not that combo platter of a traditional degree with an industry credential moves the needle in terms of helping folks to be thoroughly employed in positions that, again, put food on the table and support support families and so on. Here's also some data that we also have access to. Texas is really cool in the sense that given some of the work that's being done within the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, David Troutman is like a superstar in this space, representing the coordinating board. And given his efforts, he was able to create dashboards like this to really help us track median salaries of recent graduates by campus and by major. And so this is just an example of how we're also leveraging additional data available to us to better understand the salaries of our recent graduates. And this data also helps shape Texas credentials for the future, because here you can see, at least initially, certain liberal arts majors like psychology majors, which is my major, can have some challenges in terms of finding good paying jobs, at least in the first couple of years post-graduation. Now, for Texas credentials for the future, this is just a quick overview. You'll notice that really it's made up of a lot of different elements. The assumption is that we are leveraging the use of micro-credentials. We do make a distinction between industry credentials that are available, embedded in courses as well as co-curricularly, because our learners, for the most part, have access to both. Some faculty, through our work with Strata Education Foundation, which was one of our early supporters and funders of this initiative, really allowed us to do early pilots, more focused on embedding the micro-credentials in courses. And now, because of hard funding from our system, we have grown out the co-curricular access, so that more of our learners have that no-cost access. But this work, of course, doesn't, this work is based on other elements, right? So if you're going to do this, you also have to do appropriate faculty development. So we've also, we've done that as well. We've also allowed some faculty to, through some of our grant funds, to pilot the use of faculty-created credentials, which align to needed skills in the marketplace. We're also piloting the use of digital credential wallets through a company called Territorium. And so that will also be a part of our data collection moving forward. And we're also just trying to, in terms of data collection, again, use it to help us make some determinations about how we can make this program better in terms of, for example, on the co-curricular side, can we do more to really help learners get over the completion line, the finish line, in terms of completing an industry credential that they complete. And I'll talk a little bit about that a little later. But these are just all the basic elements of Texas credentials for the future. But the faculty development piece was really important because it gave faculty, it incentivized faculty, because we didn't want this initiative to be top down. It gave them an opportunity to do some early pilots around this work, share good practices with each other, and that really grew the number of faculty who were actually engaged with us and who are currently still doing this work today. Here's a timeline of our work. Again, we started back in 2020. This timeline, of course, only goes through 2023. What happened in 2024, which is not represented in this timeline, is that we did extend our access to the Coursera platform, and specifically the career certificates that are embedded in what is called Career Academy, to our health campuses. So that happened just last year. And so we will have even more data to look at, not just from our academic campuses, but also our health campuses. And here are our partners. We've worked again with Strata, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, that had an early grant that we leveraged. The Beyond Completion Challenge grants from Strata, very thankful for that. We were also initially a Grow with Google school, which allowed us to do some early pilots through that program. And then, of course, Coursera. We wanted there to be kind of a one-stop platform where learners could gain access to these industry credentials, and Coursera has been a great partner. SkyPack helped us with some of our initial faculty development at the system level. So SkyPack is a great vendor partner that helped us develop a 4-week online course around micro-credentials, and really kind of also help faculty think through what are micro-credentials, how do you integrate them in courses. And so SkyPack was great. I mentioned Territorium already. And then I would say JFF also helped us with some of our implementations around integration of credentials. And then WorkCred has also been a really great partner in terms of, they've helped us with things like case studies around our work. And they also have, if you go to their website, you'll find an initial report that they did on the integration of micro-credentials that featured our system, but also other college and university systems as well. So if you're looking for various types of case studies, WorkCred has them for you to review. So just thankful for those partnerships, and also thankful for Coursera. Coursera's career certificates have definitely increased over time. You can see that increase on this slide. But more interesting, this even though this is a slightly older slide, what we were actually very interested in is that as we were making access to industry credentials to our learners, we were really happy to see that certain vendor partners like Google, Salesforce, and IBM are also working with organizations like the American Council on Education to provide institutions with credit recommendations, right? So one thing that we also did as a function of our grant with Strata was to contract with CALE, the Council for Adult and Experiential Learning, to help provide some professional development to our campuses around CPL, credit for prior learning. So we are, as a system, we are gradually starting to look at how can we give academic credit to learners who are coming to us. Maybe they're transfer students, maybe they are our traditional high school students who already have some of these industry credentials. How can we give them credit that can then stack into the degrees that they're offering? So, but again, Coursera has been great, and their vendor partners have been varied, which have given many of our students a lot of opportunities to to kind of research different industry credential opportunities. Some of our campuses have also done a really great job in terms of their own faculty development options. This is a really good example from UT Arlington, where they have developed an in-house process where initially faculty go through the system level micro-credential course. Faculty also are incentivized to go through the industry micro-credential series of modules that they are interested in embedding in a course. And so that way they get the experience of being a learner themselves. And so that's been a really good model that UT Arlington is using. And then in order to get the full amount of their incentive, their stipend, they also have to, again, commit to teaching a revised version of their course with the micro-credential built in. So just wanted to show this as an example of how faculty development can really help grow this integration of micro-credentials in courses. Jude is actually one of our humanities faculty members from UT San Antonio. And I can I'll share a PDF copy of these slides with Kyle to share out to those of you who are interested. If you click and watch his video, he explains how he's been able to integrate project management, and he explains how, because in his course, it's students work in groups, and so it's a great way to kind of apply that group experience, project management of groups with this particular certificate. But he does a great job of explaining that. This is one of his students who actually is very happy to have an opportunity to earn this project management cert from Google. And again, there's more information too on UT San Antonio's micro-credential page explaining her story, as well as the stories of other students. And I'll just skip through this. But another student example I wanted just to show before I talk about data gathering is Brody. So Brody Feldberg is a UT Austin student, and Google has kind of highlighted him in this particular slide, but he was an economics major who actually leveraged the use of the Google Data Analytics cert in one of his courses, and he talks about how it really helped him stand apart from some of his peers in the job that he received. So again, we have lots of student examples and just wanted to show that. And also campuses have done a great job of just getting the word out. These are various landing pages across our system. And again, these are just the academic campuses so far, but even MD Anderson Cancer Center is starting to kind of promote these micro-credentials to their learners as well. So this is definitely a full court press by our system to get the word out, and it's really the number of enrollments definitely bore out that you have to do thorough marketing to let students know about this benefit. Now, given that this is a group that's focused on non-degree credential research, I would be remiss if I didn't really kind of get into it, right? So you're probably going to be more interested in some of our numbers, but also know that we are a work in progress, and we are collecting data every month based on enrollments and other things that we're doing. So again, think of this as part one of the story. We'll definitely come back around if you would like to learn more to give you an update. But before I get into the data, but these are just some questions, and I realize they are big questions, but these are questions that we are asking about Texas credentials for the future. Like, we want to know, for example, about the perceptions that our learners are having as they pursue micro-credentials on the Coursera platform. And also we want to find out to what extent we want to learn more about employment outcomes. That second question is kind of a harder question to get at because it does require lots of logistics in order to get at job outcomes and really isolating samples where you're focusing on those who actually have a degree plus the micro-credential compared to other groups of folks who are not pursuing the micro-credential. And so we'll be looking at that. And we're also, of course, interested in our digital credential wallet pilot because obviously we want to be able, if students are earning micro-credentials, we want to definitely promote learner agency and help our learners tell a great story about what they know and what they can do. A part of that work involves, giving them access to credentials that are very specific around skills, which then helps in that storytelling. But then also we want to give them a tool like a digital credential wallet to also collect, as they're collecting these credentials, have a way to always go back to the source of their wallet to tell that story. So we'll be also doing some basic research there through surveys. Data sources. So these are some of our main data sources. So Coursera provides the University of Texas system monthly, they're called specialization reports. And those of you who are on campuses where you're using Coursera, maybe you're already familiar with this, but we get across our system a very, very large CSV file that we use to really basically kind of track by campus enrollments in all the various industry credential programs that are available from Google and other providers on the platform. And again, this is a monthly report that's updated. We also have data about our learners that we've been able to verify in our SIS. So as you can imagine on Coursera, sometimes we get learners who say, hey, my email address is bubbagump@gmail.com. And so we do have a process to validate all of the Coursera accounts to verify that they are learners, within our system. And when we can't verify who they are, then obviously we don't get their demographic data, which is also what we're tracking within the SIS and the systems data warehouse. Other things we're doing to collect data are surveys, and I'll talk about one of the surveys that we've already launched where several hundred learners told us about their Coursera learning experiences. We also have a contract with Stepping Blocks. So think of Stepping Blocks as a very sophisticated data analytics / data scrubber. And some of you may have heard of Stepping Blocks, but they provide us a way to track folks who have indicated that they are alumni of our campuses, and leveraging publicly available data. We can also get at job titles that folks are describing themselves on sites like LinkedIn and so on. And we do that simply because we know that unemployment insurance data, and we're getting ours from the Texas Workforce Commission, is devoid of certain bits of data, right? Like we know, for example, the median salaries of history majors from any one of our academic campuses. What we don't know are their job titles, right? Because that information is not easily available. But moving forward, hopefully through collaborations with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation and other groups, Coleridge and others, there will be a future where we'll have more insights, more optics into the job titles of our learners. So, but for now, we're working also with the Texas Workforce Commission to gradually gain access to salary data for those who actually earn both a degree and a micro-credential from Coursera. So here are just kind of at a high level some data to share with you. So right now we have well over 20,000 unique learners. I actually just got the latest monthly report from Coursera, so I'm not quite sure what the exact number is, but it's definitely still over 20K. Coursera gives us an ability to track learning hours and completed modules that are associated with each of the industry credentials on the platform, like the Google Data Analytics Cert or Google's Project Management Cert and so on. So we're able to track just the total number of modules that are being completed by learners across the micro-credential programs that they have access to. And remember that CSV file I was talking about? Well, I worked with our Office of Institutional Research and Analysis, and they did a great job of creating a Power BI dashboard. And we use this pretty much internally at this point. It gives us an opportunity. And again, I apologize, this is just a screenshot, obviously, but we can, in real time, leveraging our monthly reports, kind of drill in and toggle as needed to find out how we're doing in terms of our enrollments and completions over time. We can also toggle by learner type, alumni versus faculty and staff, and so on. So in this previous slide, right, 20,000 learners reflects all of those learner types. And then in this screenshot, I actually decided just to focus a little bit on students. And again, we're growing. We have well over 2,000 micro-credentials completed. Just with students, we have about 1,663. This is, of course, as of our last Coursera report. Our new one will have new numbers, and so I'll be definitely updating the Power BI dashboard will be updating soon to reflect that. On the far left, you'll notice that we can also track by campus. So we can track academic campuses and also our health campuses that are leveraging Coursera. And then we can also break it down by the vendor. And then within vendor, we can track by program. And you'll notice, just to give you a flavor here, many of our students are in these Google industry credentials simply because we were a Grow with Google customer from way back. And so I think a lot of students are familiar with Google, but we also have other providers that folks are experimenting with, Microsoft, credentials from Microsoft and IBM, and so on. So we definitely have some other things that we're doing too, is that we're also, remember that data match, the guy that had the email bubbagump@gmail. So this part of our dashboard allows us to, it reminds us out of all the student learners that we've been able to identify, which ones have we confirmed to be students on each of the campuses. And so our match rate is actually fairly good, 83%. Probably sometime this month or early next month, the Office of Institutional Research in our system office will do another matching. And again, it's a collaborative approach because they work with the institutional research offices of each of the campuses to double check that they can validate the emails of learners on the Coursera platform and match those with actual students. And so it's a you know, it definitely requires a team of people to do, but it's great that we have that in place just to help us validate who's who across our campus and what they're enrolled in. And so we're doing a bit of that, leveraging our dashboard. And we're also gradually collecting demographic data. Oh, one other thing we're doing too, the bottom left here, we are tracking folks by major as well. And so hopefully when we do our final report later this year, we'll be able to summarize some of this data to kind of confirm, you know, by major, what are some of our more popular industry credential programs that people are enrolling in and completing. The dashboard also gives us the ability, because of our data matching, to also do demographics, right? So here we pull in that demographic information, and again, it's updated every month. So this is definitely old, but I actually should say the demographic matching we're doing is actually done twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring. So by the time that we do our final report, we'll have a final update on demographics, but we are tracking that to the best of our ability and talking with our institutional research office. These are the variables that we're looking at that you can see here. So again, we're really trying to do more in this space. As you all can appreciate more than anyone, there's not a lot of great research, even summary data around industry credentials like the ones that are, you know, being offered by providers like Google and IBM, at least through those who are participating in these courses on the Coursera platform. If you are aware of studies that are doing this type of a deeper dive in the data, please let me know, because I definitely want to educate myself as I'm moving forward. But again, it's just been hard to find this. And many schools, for example, our Grow with Google customers are using other types of industry credentials from providers like Adobe, which now is on the Coursera platform to some extent, and others. But we don't always have a way to kind of like, you know, summarize this data across all of our campuses. You know, maybe Credlens, which is this new nonprofit from Strata, will help us get there, but we're just not there yet. I've shared some quantitative data with you that we're tracking every month and you know, every year. We also gave a survey that we're going to also give again probably later this year, but in April of 2024, when we had about 7,600 students and alumni on the platform. So that just goes to show you our growth, right? We've already doubled that number pretty easily as of now. Now being April 2025, we did incentivize folks with Amazon gift cards and ebooks, and at the time we had 666 micro-credential learners, and these are again specifically folks from the Coursera platform that we reached out to. So I'm just going to go through some of these slides pretty quickly just to shore up time for Q&A. But we did ask various questions like, again, how relevant did you find the micro-credential to your current or future career goals? Most people reported, you know, very relevant to extremely relevant. So pretty happy there with those results. Most people said that they were somewhat satisfied to very satisfied with the micro-credential program that they selected. And then the recommendation, strong recommendations for micro-credentials. So I think the learner sees the potential or the value there. Of course, as a system, we still need to connect the dots for learners, right? Like continue to educate them about what their micro-credential opportunities are, how they relate to the world of work, show them examples, for example, like Brody from UT Austin, where they can see like, hey, if I do this, there'll be something positive on the back end for me as I graduate. So we need to still tell those stories in order to protect these perceptions of the value of micro-credentials. We did, of course, as we're tracking some of our data, we are noticing that, of course, many people complete and many people enroll, but a smaller percentage actually complete. And we realized that the micro-credentials on the Coursera platform are very time consuming, right? Even if you embed it in a course, the challenge for certain students is that they may not have they may run out of time. And so that's something that we're going to kind of continue to look at. Some other reasons that folks indicated, here you see I needed more support from my institution. A few people said that, but I would say time was definitely the number one answer. And some people, in terms of some of their other comments, even said time, like they wish they had more time, perhaps more support. And we're going to be kind of looking at that. How can we leverage Coursera's email prompting, for example, to improve on completion rates? I mean, maybe there's an opportunity for us to do some pilots around the use of AI prompting tools, or some of our campuses are using student workers to do that proactive outreach. So I think there's still some things that we can do to shore up the completion, but we're also thinking about metrics other than just earning the micro-credential in and of itself. We really do feel that, and this is where another survey will be helpful to find this out, but my gut also tells me that I think one metric could simply just be just students, again, just telling us that the experience of just, researching a micro-credential and taking a couple modules was enough for them. I think some students maybe opened up Coursera micro-credential pathway, maybe realized after a couple modules they were, okay, kind of, completing those, and that satisfied their goals. And so we'll have some follow-up surveys, again, find out if that's actually true. But I also think that students are just curious, right? And so, I think in terms of success, I think we'll be looking at success in different ways, not just traditional completion, but also just, do you feel more confident in your approach to, in terms of having certain skills to get you prepared for the world of work. Maybe we'll also find in some of our follow-up data that maybe it helps with retention, those students who actually pursue a micro-credential versus those who don't. So much more work to be done. So here are some initial challenges. I'm just going to throw these up just so that you can see. I talked about the matching, validating the identity of micro-credential learners. That's definitely something that can be challenging at times if you don't have students signing up using their university accounts. I think that's less of a problem now. More as we've scaled access, more of our campuses have required students to use their school email addresses, so that's helping. And also for alumni, even though they're maybe using a personal email address, campuses do have kind of sign up websites where if you're an alum, they're validating your identity through their records and then giving you access to Coursera. So that's also helping us validate who's who on the platform. As I mentioned before, the micro-credentials, well, maybe actually I don't think I mentioned this one. So when you embed a micro-credential as a faculty in the past, across our campuses that use SIS systems like Banner and PeopleSoft, there hasn't been a way a priori to know, well, which sections, which courses. We have some of that data based on the fact that some of our early faculty were incentivized to embed micro-credentials, right? And so when they participated in those faculty development programs, sure, we had access to that data. But now as faculty have moved outside of those faculty development programs, we still want to be able to track that. And so that's something that we're going to be thinking about doing starting in the summer, and I'll try to return to that quickly in a minute. Also, Coursera links to micro-credentials or not. So the third bullet just represents the fact that when you actually earn an industry credential on the Coursera platform, you don't get a digital wallet or digital credential wallet. You get a link that you could post on LinkedIn, but we want to find a way to really give folks a way to store verifiable credentials. So that's just something that we're talking with Coursera on, and I think they're very interested in pursuing that. To help, again, students tell a better story and to have control of the micro-credentials that they're earning in a digital wallet or some type of another type of learner employment record. Again, I mentioned about the certain micro-credentials, like the data analytics cert from Google, it's like 8 modules. And so it does take a bit of time to complete, a couple months, if you're kind of taking your time to get through that content. We also need to continue to ask our employer partners what they think about the micro-credentials. How will they weigh those in hiring decisions or upskilling? You know, if someone is maybe upskilling through a micro-credential and they're an alumni, is that going to be valued in that decision to promote someone and so on? And then also tracking job outcomes. So this is something newer for our system to do. However, the bones are in place. Like we're already, as I showed you before, through the one dashboard, we have a way of tracking median salaries, but we need to do a better job. I mean, not a better job. We need to do something different now, which is, can we isolate those psych majors or history majors or biology majors who have earned a micro-credential from whoever, right? Google, Meta, IBM, and so on. And do they do slightly better in terms of their first job or two post-graduation compared to majors who are like them, but who did not, either they did not complete the micro-credential or they maybe historically just didn't have access to it. So that's going to be a new pursuit for us, and just really excited about what information we can glean from that. Again, we won't learn everything about why there might be differences, if there are true differences, but I think that's the type of data collection and analysis that we are planning to do very soon, starting this summer, starting with folks who graduated in 2022 with a micro-credential. So stay tuned. We'll have more information to share as we move forward. So on the horizon, I probably gave away some of the things that we're going to do already. We're going to continue to refine our micro-credential learner survey methodology and relaunch that survey. Maybe make it a little tighter. 27 questions or 28 questions is still a little long. So we're going to be working with, actually with an external research partner in collaboration with Strata to find that partner. But these are just some of the things we'll do. We'll begin to summarize job outcome data, as I mentioned, look at stepping blocks, and also just see what we can do there with the occupational data that stepping blocks could potentially provide for us. We'll also finalize and launch a survey to assess perceptions and use of our digital credential wallet from Territorium, from those campuses that are participating in our pilot. And then we'll create a final summary report later this year with an executive summary of our findings and next steps for our system. And these next slides are just bits of information about stepping blocks, the types of information that they pull in that we'll be looking at. And this is from the platform itself. So it allows us, again, using publicly available information on LinkedIn and other sites to track some of our alumni and better understand, it also provides some estimates too around salaries, but we're not going to really rely on that because we do have the unemployment insurance data through the Texas Workforce Commission. This work doesn't get done. A lot of people say it takes a village. I would argue it takes villagers, right? People, boots on the ground from each of our campuses these are some of our project leads across our campuses who I've been very honored to work with since starting in my role in March of 2023. So great folks who also have full-time jobs doing other things. And so just thankful for the faculty and the staff who've been working with me to do this really exciting work. And we hope that that this work will also be replicated by other colleges, community colleges, universities, and systems like ours, just so that we can better understand this type of investment, right, in terms of that integration of credentials in courses and also just within the life of a student through co-curricular means. If you're interested in learning a bit more too, with also some examples from students who have engaged in some of our work, this website developed by Strata is very helpful. So definitely check it out, and check me out if you have questions about our project, or if you would like to have conversations about how we could potentially collaborate. I would love, for example, if your campus is very interested in, maybe doing some similar work, or maybe you're already doing it and you have some lessons learned to share, I would love to hear from you. But that's my email address. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and hopefully I've left some time for Q&A. And again, I apologize if I didn't cover all the things that you wanted to hear about this particular project. Again, we are a work in progress. Again, excuse the pun, but we're doing what we can to really help provide additional information in this evolving space, right? And just thankful for this group, and thankful for all of you for doing similar work, because that's how we learn. And my hope is that our learnings will help our students, our alumni, other learners we serve, again, be successful in this ever-evolving ecosystem that we have the honor to work in. So thanks again.
Oh wait, can y'all hear me now? There was a technical setting where I think all participants were muted for a minute, but I think we figured that out. So thank you so much, Kelvin. We'll do a little moderated discussion. There, first we had a question in the chat from Holly about international students. Holly, did you want to say anything more about that? You are also muted. Let's see if we can get you unmuted. Still having Melissa, I think Holly's still. I don't have the ability to unmute actually today. Like this is a little bit more locked down than usual for me. Well, anyway, Holly.
Wait.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
You fixed it, Kyle. So I think it might have been slide 27, Kelvin, but thanks for all that you're doing. Texas is a really great example for a lot of us who want to see, can these efforts really kind of go to large scale? But I think I saw in the pie chart on, maybe it was slide 27, the biggest group of folks participating looked like they were international students, like 40-some%. So wanted to question if I understood that, and if in fact, are those students who you think are going to use this and look for jobs in the US? Or are they going to go to other countries, and this is important for their employment in other countries? So I wonder if you can say anything about the international students, if I understood that correctly.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can unmute myself. Yay. So yes, that's a great question. We are finding that there are a good number of international students participating. We're not sure to what extent they will leverage the skills from earned micro-credentials, within within the United States, or when they go back, if they have to go back to their home countries. That's definitely something that we can ask as a part of our follow-up, in terms of, the next time that we actually do the micro-credential learner survey. So thanks for that question. I think that is something that we can definitely address.
I would just raise this as the Texas legislators, if they look at this data to see that that's the largest group of students who are participating in this innovation, I think that would raise questions. So I would be really interested in hearing what you all think about that.
Right.
And we also had Tom, you had a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah, it's just about how the micro-credentials have assimilated themselves into curriculum and advising, into the sort of routines and practices of the institutions. How do students get advised about making choices? And how do instructors respond? Is this an opportunity, problem, or perhaps both, depending on where they sit? I'd be interested to hear more about how it's working at the student and instructor level.
Yeah, well, I mean, we started initially not doing too much on the co-curricular side. We actually started with faculty who joined us in the sandbox, right? We basically worked with faculty who were interested in doing some early pilots with us. And so I would say on the co-curricular side, there are campuses who are trying to do that proactive outreach. Our career center directors are aware of the initiative. And so I think some students are also talking with some of their advisors that way. Some students are probably more likely just to sign up on their own. And I think that's maybe an opportunity for us, right? Like, as given that we've scaled, I think one thing that could be very interesting is, to what extent can we provide more proactive outreach, right? So as learners are signing up on their own on the Coursera platform, what can we do, or what can the campuses do to address questions, remind folks that the Career Center can also help guide their selection of the micro-credentials that are available. And so, yeah, so I think that's an evolving space for us. But I'm just thankful that many faculty, kind of took if you remember the old Nestea plunge commercials, right, falling into the pool. I think many faculty within our system across campuses decided to work with us, and so that's really, I think, addressed some questions, concerns there. And not every faculty, every faculty member knows they don't have to do this, but some faculty were willing to, and that's made all the difference moving forward.
I did have one other question, which is when we think about the landscape nationally, and you're kind of situating what UT is doing nationally, are there any other university systems out there that you guys look to as a benchmarking, or that you guys think of as sort of a comparison group when you're thinking about either your research or more broadly just a Texas Credentials for the Future program? Are there any programs out there that you think of as kind of peers that are kind of engaged in similar efforts that you think are particularly noteworthy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I can share is that I'm working, it's not official in terms of press releases, but I am working with a community of practice where, it includes like sister systems like Texas A&M and CUNY and SUNY and some other systems, Cal State, for example, the Cal State University system. And so these, I would say, are kind of interesting peers that are interested in this work, and we are sharing some of our lessons learned with these systems, with the hope being we can collect even more data across all of our systems, right, to to really better understand, again, what works, what doesn't work, how can we actually improve upon our student support, outreach to learners, to do this work more effectively. And so, and we're also talking with Google about, like, given that so many schools are already grow with Google customers, yeah, what are some additional institutions we should be looking at? But some of the larger systems in the United States that are part of this new community of practice that I'm working on, I think we're going to learn a lot from them moving forward.
So reading between the lines on your answers, then it sounds like there might be some interest in some common benchmarking questions or some common survey questions that would allow for some meaningful comparisons across campuses.
Yes, I think we have to do that, right? Like there's no reason for the other 11 systems that I'm working with to kind of recreate the wheel. And so our hope is that we will be able to share survey questions, also share best practices in terms of this, how do you actually create this data jigsaw puzzle? Because as I mentioned before, remember, Coursera does not speak to your SIS, right? And so if you are tracking the embedding of micro-credentials, guess what? You're going to have to figure out how to do that. And I've mentioned to Coursera that would be a great, a great thing if moving forward there was a way to kind of link those types of disparate systems. And so, for us, we're going to, of course, share how we're doing it through Banner and PeopleSoft, leveraging certain fields to let the learner know that this section of Intro to Psych can result in this industry, credential, either because the professor decided to make it available through, extra credit or as a portion of the overall grade. And so we're very open to, again, sharing kind of what we're doing, with the hope being, to your point, Kyle, can we come up with a model that we can all borrow from, such that when we do collect data, it makes sense and helps all of us benefit from the insights gleaned, right? Again, easier said than done. But just imagine how many schools are already, let's just say Google, for example, how many schools are already grow with Google institutions, but we haven't been able to pull in and share best practices very easily because we're doing it, hundreds, thousands of times over. And so just excited about the work to come, about not just what we're doing, but again, these collaboration opportunities.
If there was a little bit of a sparkle in my eye when, when we started to talk about kind of a common questionnaires or common benchmarking elements, partly because when I think about where we're going with the future of the NCRN, I think that could be a really positive way for, I love it, Tom, in the chat, Inter-University Credential Consortium. This is one of the areas where we're hoping that we can really add value in helping the community to think through how can we coordinate and make sure that we're not all reinventing the wheel. And that's certainly going to be, I think, part of the argument that we make for our growth and expansion in the coming years.
Right.
So we are at 2 o'clock.
One
yes,
other thing
absolutely.
I just want to quickly mention, to Holly's point, in the screenshot that I shared, right now, international students, as of the last update, which was in the fall, was 24, almost 25%. Actually, Hispanic students were at 33%. Asian students, 15%, white students, 15%. So actually the larger majority are not international students. They are everything outside of that. So, but we'll continue, we're going to get a new update soon with that data. So stay tuned for those updates.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. This is all very informative. I'm sure people know how to find you if they have additional follow-up questions. We will have another NCRN webinar coming in early May. I don't think we're quite ready to announce the details, but that will be coming out very soon. It'll be a very special one that you will not want to miss. And we have our meeting coming up, obviously, on May 28th. Register today on the website. So if you have not done so, it's on that site. It's rutgers.edu/NCRN. You can make sure you're registered for the spring conference if you are going to be able to come to DC. We really appreciate it. we're very much in planning mode, and it would be wonderful to see everyone there in person. So thank you all, and until next time, everybody be safe and keep counting those credentials. Bye.
Take care.